This video is about oil pump inspection and measurements for Ford Cortina or Taunus 1.6 to 2 liters, and it will apply to the models from 1976 to 1980. Here I can feel that the outer rotor is not running freely against the body, so I'm a bit curious of how this looks inside. I do a marking with a pen for the inner and outer rotor against the body to be assured that the lining is perfect when assembled again. I can see that there are some holes in the inner and outer rotary, so maybe this is not necessary, but anyway, it's done here. When inspecting the housing, you can see that there are some scarrings. Some scarrings can be okay, but here you can feel it with your nail, and two of them are quite deep, so I'm starting to think that this pump housing probably is scrap. And as expected, the outer rotor of this pump also have the same scarrings as the pump housing. Quite deep, and I'm suspect that this might be too much. We start to check the clearance between the inner rotor and the outer rotor, and that is done between the lobes of the center rotor and the convex faces of the outer rotor. We do this on all the 5 convex faces, and the rotor lobe clearance should be in millimeters between the limit 0.05 and 0.2 millimeters. And here I get a perfect drag fit on 0.05, which is in the spec for the limit. So the inner rotor against the outer rotor is within limit and approved. We now check the clearance between the outer rotor and the pump body. This limit should be within 0.15 and 0.30 millimeters. And here I have a perfect drag fit of 0.15 millimeters around the outer rotary of the pump and the pump body. This is within spec. The last clearance check is the end float clearance between the inner and outer rotor against the cap. To check this, we need something that is dead straight to put up on the housing, and we measure against the straight part we put on and the inner and outer rotor. Here I get a good drag fit on 0.08 millimeters, which is in spec. if the only excessive clearance on the oil pump is the end float, it is possible to reduce this by removing the rotors and do a lapping of the surface on the body of the housing. If this is done, you need to have a perfectly flat surface and use a wet sandpaper, maybe grit 1000. But when doing this, the face of the body must be perfectly flat and square. It needs to be exactly 90% of the axis of the rotor spindle, or otherwise the pump will fail. So this is probably not recommended, but it is possible to do it. But only if it is the end float that is the only problem with your pump. Otherwise, it should. To sum up the checking of this pump, we had clearance between the inner and outer rotor, which was in spec. We had a clearance on the outer rotor against the body pump, which was in spec. We had the end float clearance, which also was in spec. So actually every measurement of the pump is in spec, but the main problem here, I think, is that we have a lot of scarring within the pump, the body of the pump, and the outer rotor. My conclusion is that the scarrings are so deep that I will scrap this pump. The cost of a new pump is not too much and is the available part, so I don't run the risk of installing this pump because of that. It is clear that there has been some kind of debris inside the pump at some time. The pump is not worn out, but it actually I've had some debris in it, which has made the scarring. So I feel this pump is a scrap.